So have you heard of Colonial Knife Corp? Some yes, some no. You know what? I want to change that. Nice hat, no? Guys, this is a CE-400. It's also called the Defiant. There's the Defiant, and there's also the Nemesis, which is a smaller, younger brother of this one. I did a review on this one in this video, but that's what this video is about. But it's also about Colonial Knife and Tool. Any new companies that I present on my channel, I like to give you a little background on the company, and especially Colonial Knife, because there is such a rich history that's involved with Colonial Knife. I've been doing a lot of shorts on their knives, and we actually had the owner, Steve, Mr. Steve, on Blade Talk with Scab and Joe, and he spoke about all of the great history, where Colonial Knife came from with the family history and the family tree, passed on from generation to generation. And I definitely recommend you watch that, because I'll leave the link in the description. Definitely take a look at that. We're gonna probably follow up with definitely another history lesson on early knife companies, which is mad interesting, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. Mostly the old-time knife people, the old-time true blue knife owners, American knife owners, will tell us, I remember my grandfather used to have Colonial knives. I remember my father used to have Colonial knives that were passed on from his father, from grandpa. They know the history of Colonial Knife. Now, if you haven't heard about Colonial Knife, for many years supplying knives for other companies, but didn't really put their names on, stamp their names on the knives they were producing for other companies, from what I understand, but they've always been around. So in their website, and which is really cool, because actually our Blade Talk is actually on their website. He actually put the link on their website, which is mad cool. Thank you, Steve. I didn't even know that was on there until I kind of went on there and take a look at it. Hey, there's Scab, there's Joe, there's Steve. Great Blade Talk. Definitely check that out. You can see all the original plans. This is the original blueprint of the textile mill that the Palantanio, I believe it's Palantanio brothers purchased in 1926, guys. That would become Colonial Knife Company. And you scroll down and you see all the original designs. We're almost approaching a century, one whole century, since Colonial Knife Company actually came to the States, which is mad cool. So there's so much rich history there. So you definitely owe it to yourself to kind of look at their website, go to About Us, and see all the fantastic pictures of the families, original documents, original family tree of the grandfathers and all the brothers that started this. It's just, it's a rich piece of history, which is mad cool. So now here on their website, you're going to see many different types of knives, okay, that they sell. And now they're a knife company, but they're also an all-around tool company. All the different types of survival gear they sell, obviously the bushcrafting, the tomahawks, the tactical military knives, best made switchblades in the world, a couple different reviews and statistics on their knives, where they stand in the market. So definitely a good read in terms of looking into their website. With these knives that I'm reviewing, you have an amazing deal that's going on right now. You'll see it says right there, the best bug out knife, buy one, get one free. So you pay $149.99 and you get both of these knives. You get the 400, and you also get the Nemesis and the Defiant. You get both these knives together. Now, guys, I'm not selling you these knives. This is not a sales commercial. I'm just passing on information of my experience with Colonial knives and with what I reviewed, and the fact that there is an amazing deal out there. So if you are interested, after you see my videos or any other videos, look at Tom Ritter, look at Isaac Knives and Knowledge. I'll leave links to everybody. And basically, they have testaments to the knives. So I can basically tell you how this knife feels in my hand, but you definitely want to also take a look at the other channels and take a look at what they feel about the knife, because that's really what it's all about. So we're looking at the Defiant model, which is the CE-400. It's an overall length of 11.18 inch. It's a blade length of 6 inches. It's a blade Rockwell of 59, and a thickness of the blade of 3/16 of an inch. The blade material is a really cool 154 cm, and it's not light. It's a nice hefty knife at around 1 pound. So guys, this is the knife. I gotta say, it's I think it was Isaac Knives and Knowledge that basically said, he did a short on this, and he said something pretty interesting and pretty profound, that this knife will do it all for you. I mean, it's kind of cliche. A lot of people say, yeah, this knife does everything. This knife really does do it all for you. This is a great bushcrafting knife. What has to be mentioned is the really cool Kydex sheet The knife fits extremely well in there, snaps into place, very secure. And I love that patented quick release system that just kind of goes right over your belt. It snaps right into place. You don't have to remove your belt. Very, very convenient, very comfortable, very well done, MOLLE compatible kind of sheath on it. But I can't emphasize enough how comfortable this feels in the hand. There's something about how this thing is balanced. It's a nice chunk of steel, guys. It's no joke. I mean, you got thickened end here, and it goes into like an unsharpened swedge. It's a very good slicer, but it's just, there's something about how this feels in the hand. It's hard to describe it. The only people that I can relate to are the people who have held it. So I can talk to Scab, and Scab will tell me the same thing, how it feels in the hand. It fits incredibly comfortable in the hand. Even while I was doing some like really high impact, when I was doing the penetration hits, those are great tests because I'm able to let you know how, if there's any hot spots, if by doing the penetration, really hitting this knife and trying to do the penetration, if I feel slipping, if there's any slipping or anything like that, or if there's any pain, or if I'm hitting into the metal, it stayed comfortable in the hand at all times. You see the difference between certain knives when you're doing that type of penetration or stabbing test. You feel some discomfort. This, I felt absolutely no discomfort whatsoever. I was very, very comfortable with how this feels in the hand. I believe it's Micarta, or I think it's Micarta. I think it's G10. I actually think it's a G10 handle. It just melts right into your hand. No hot spots. It's just your hand doesn't slide. With these 4-foot gravity drops, you can see basically as the knife is falling how incredibly balanced the knife is. The way it really just falls into place perfectly, and even with the hard downward throws, it handled itself well. You can feel it when you're throwing, you can feel it when it drops, how well balanced this knife is and how well distributed the weight is. Well distributed, that's it. The weight is on the knife. Excellent. Even though this is a smooth material, I know how some people have said with wet hands, but I don't feel this thing really slipping in your hand. I mean, if I really even try to turn it, I mean, I can't really turn it in my hand. It's very, very comfortable, and the way it's curved, I don't think that there's going to be any slippage because it really hugs the flubber of your hand, and I felt really good as I was doing the penetration test. Now, it came actually pretty sharp for me right out of the box. For me personally, this particular, I can only talk about the knife that I have in hand, but this came pretty damn sharp. Now, I tried to cut a couple different types of materials. I also tried to slice into the steel reinforced, a piece of a steel reinforced rubber tire, and it really sliced into it pretty well, and I didn't really see any damage on the edge or anything like that, so it held up pretty well, and that really has been kind of a knife killer. If the edge, or if you don't have some good, heat tempering or anything like that, you might damage the edge, and the edge kind of stayed true throughout the rest of the review. Sandblast hose, guys, that's a very tough material. The sandblast hose is steel reinforced sandblast hose. It's an industrial material, and it really cut, in terms of how quick it got through it cut through it really well. I didn't find, and I had difficulty with other knives with it, but this kind of really went through it really well. I think it's also, the edge is very good out of the box. It's got a great cutting profile. I believe it's a Scandi grind. Because of the weight of the knife and how it's distributed, I just felt like I had some control on the cut, and I was able to really make some quick work of getting through that sandblast hose in comparison to other knives where I do have a problem with it from time to time, but this knife handled it extremely well. And then I did the typical cutting, polyurethane rope, camp rope, regular rope. I just cut a couple different things, whatever I can cut, just to kind of just to put some pressure on the edge and to see how it's going to hold up, how the edge retention holds up, and it did good with that as well. And it was slicing wood, guys, like any good bushcrafting knife you would expect to do. It has a 90-degree bevel right on the spine of the knife. and it's perfectly situated there, as you can see, and you're able to really strike the ferro rod extremely easily. So in terms of having it being an all-around bushcrafting knife, yes, you can definitely strike a ferro rod. After you cut that wood or you kindle the wood, you can definitely also make a fire if you have a striker and get your fire going. So it's a complete package in a bushcrafting knife. Comfortable in the hand, great weight distribution, heavy where it needs to be heavy, and it just kind of you feel like when it's in your hand, you feel like it wants to cut, it wants to penetrate, it wants to slice. It does everything it's supposed to do. The name Bushcraft says it like it is. Tough and strong. The Defiant is made of 3/16 inch stock with a high Saber grind for an effective geometry for cutting and small chopping. The handle design allows for a comfortable hold, providing a platform for plenty of control. Fine weight gives it plenty of mass to put the force multiplier into the chop, causing the wood to want to give way. I can't tell you how true all of that is, because it did feel like basically as you're chopping with it, and it's not a chopping knife, as you're chopping into the wood of this with this knife, the wood was kind of just flying off. I mean, it was really a great chopper, and it's not really a chopper, but just the thickness of the width of the blade, the weight distribution, the weight of the steel, it made for a really good chopper, and it really felt good. And again, not all knives handle themselves like this. This happens to be a really good chopper. And again, no fatigue, no hot spots. It felt comfortable in the hand no matter what I was doing with this thing. And especially doing the chopping when this is not a chopper, very impressed with how they're advertising it and what it actually does. Very rarely do you get companies advertising a knife to do a certain thing and then you feeling it. I feel like it completely interprets to how I felt when I was reviewing the knife in terms of what they're saying about it. So kudos to them to kind of really, be transparent and let you know, yes, this knife is great. This knife will handle your task, and it feels like it wants to work while it's in your hand. That's exactly how I felt. So guys, I tried to cut as much as I could. There's electrical cable kind of popping right off, the 3 copper wire electrical cable. You have some rope, it was popping right off. And I tried to go back and slice some more wood. Edge retention held up. Everything worked really well. Very impressed with this knife. And finally, like with all knives, we're batoning with it. Why are we batoning with it? Not because this knife is supposed to baton, but if you are in a situation where you're camping and you have to process wood, you want to know the knife can baton and it's going to hold up for you, and it's going to be able to finish up whatever needs to finish up in your camping trip. Use some really hard firewood, Home Depot firewood, very hard type of wood. Chopping away at it. I actually did it 3 times because the first time I did it, my camera wasn't recording, so I actually batoned even more than what you're seeing on the video. But it really cut through it really well, and I was really jamming on the point, and the point stayed true. A couple scratches and little dings and scratches here and there, but the knife held up pretty well through all the abuse I put it through. It's still pretty much ready to go for another day. Maybe a little honing or a little stropping, and this knife is perfectly fine. But it just handled the batoning, it handled the slicing of the wood, it handled all of the cutting materials and the cutting the ropes and stuff like that, and it also handled some harder tests like cutting into steel belted stuff like the sandblast hose and the rubber tire and all that. Through all those tests, guys, I have to say this stayed extremely comfortable. This is what impressed me the most about this knife, guys, is the fact of how comfortable the handle is and how it stayed comfortable in my hand and how I felt like it really wanted to cut, it really wanted to penetrate, and it really wanted to chop and work. And I can honestly say it's a good all-around bushcrafting knife. But besides that, guys, this knife is an heirloom, okay? It's such a great deal right now that everybody should really jump on it, because this is an heirloom of a classic American company that's been around for almost a century. So to have this knife is having a piece of history. This knife is an older model. It's been around for a long time, but it doesn't need to be changed, because if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's a great bushcrafting knife. Even if you get it and you don't use it, I would recommend using it. But even if you get it and you just wanted to save it as an heirloom, it's definitely a wonderful heirloom to own. So this is the Defiant, and also this is the Nemesis. Okay, I'll show you this side by side. This is a nice, like, everyday EDC carry. I think it's a great steak knife. I would definitely designate this as my designated steak knife. It's a really, really cool knife, but this is a good, like, everyday EDC, and this is his big brother as far as the big bushcrafter. But to get both these knives, guys, at the price that they're in, and just having that as an heirloom, I think it's a fantastic thing. Colonial knife and tool, I really want you guys to know about them. There's a lot of great tools and stuff that they sell on their website. Steve's a great guy. Take a look at the Blade Talk. We're going to have him on also pretty soon again to finish up the history lesson and all that. I think you'll be really impressed with everything that Colonial Knife is offering and the vast history about this company and its origins and where they are now. As always, guys, thanks for watching my reviews. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps me out in my channel to kind of, you know, get myself out there and grow my channel just so I can get you more content like this in the future. And before you leave, guys, definitely take a look at this video coming up next. Have a good one, guys. Peace and love to each and every one of you. Thanks always for your support, and I'll see you when I see you next video. Ciao. Okay.